Starting at the end of October with 3 nights of Taylor Swift, New Orleans is getting ready for a huge string of events in the Superdome, ending with the Super Bowl a little over 4 months from now. Organizers are looking for a few thousand volunteers to make sure the Big Easy is ready when the top 2 teams in the NFL and their fans descend on South Louisiana. Earlier this week, I visited with Jay Cicero, president of the Greater New Orleans Sports Foundation and president and CEO of the Super Bowl Host Committee, to get a status report on preparations and how you can be a part of the excitement. So here we are now, 4.5 months from the big event. Let's talk football terms. Where are you? Are we at the start of the fourth quarter? Are we at the midway point, or have we hit the 2-minute warning?
We're at the 2-minute warning as far as fundraising is concerned. So we are well along, and that's the first thing that we started 2.5 years ago, was the fundraising portion of the host committee duties, because you have to raise the money to pay all the obligations that you committed in the bid. And so that piece of it is coming together nicely. But we're in the last few minutes of that. We're in the fourth quarter as far as everything else is concerned. It's the start of the fourth quarter. And so there's a lot to get done in between now and February, and things are going to be moving quite rapidly starting in the next couple of weeks.
Since you mentioned fundraising, for all the things we love about the state of Louisiana, our state, this city, is not known for being a plethora of Fortune 500 companies, big companies. It's not New York, LA, Dallas, Houston, Chicago. But what does that say to the ability for your organization and for those who give money and the fundraising to keep bringing this event back when we're not necessarily known as a hub of major financial institutions?
We're not. In fact, we sit at the bottom of the list as far as the number of Fortune 500 companies in the state and the metropolitan area. Fortune 1000 is the same way. We're bidding against cities like Los Angeles and Phoenix, Dallas, Houston, Atlanta, Miami, major hubs for Fortune 500 companies and Fortune 1000 companies. So it takes an organization like the Sports Foundation, who is here year-round, to make sure that we are keeping the expenses as low as possible, but delivering something better than other cities can. And that's where the experience and knowledge of our staff and our board of directors and the resources that we have here, mental resources, the minds that we have here, to do things in a way, the Louisiana way, that we still beat the other cities, but our expenses are not as high.
That's a great phrase, the Louisiana way, because when you talk to people in the media, fans who have been there, they always say, this is the place. They want it to keep coming back. And I know for years, it was here a lot more frequently. 2013, I was just telling you before we started talking here, it's hard to believe it was 2013, the last one that was here. But you have other cities that are building multi-billion-dollar stadiums and trying to put in bids, yet it keeps coming back to New Orleans, which says a lot about what your staff's able to do, and I guess to your phrase, the Louisiana way of knowing, there's a reason why we want it.
The Saints play a major role in that.
Sure.
With the Saints and Mrs. Benson actually making the pitch for us. Now, we wrote it all and produced all the videos, and it was a 15-minute pitch to convince the other 31 owners to bring a Super Bowl to New Orleans, and she made that pitch for us back in 2018. She did a great job. She rehearsed 50 or 100 times, and it was a big deal.
Yeah.
And for Mrs. Benson and for us to work together on that, and since then we've been planning and fundraising and how we're going to do things differently than we've done in the past. How has the event grown since 2013? What are the expectations? How much more does it cost? What's our fundraising plan? Everything that goes along with it, we've been working on since then.
15-minute pitch 7 years ago for a game that's 4.5 months away. It's amazing to see that journey, that road to finally get here. So as you mentioned earlier, you're in the fourth quarter, final 2 minutes of fundraising, but you're really in the fourth quarter for everything else. And I know one of those is volunteers.
Yes.
And statewide appeal, a lot of people might not think, I can't afford a ticket, I'm never going to get to go to the Super Bowl. But this is a great way to be involved, get to New Orleans, and say that you were a part of it. So from the volunteer standpoint, since this is seen statewide, what's the call to action for you to get people who are interested, or maybe say, I never knew I could do that?
Right. Another aspect that we're doing a little bit differently this time around, and Chevron as our sponsor for our volunteer program, but we're calling it the Chevron Ambassador Program. So they truly are ambassadors for Louisiana and for New Orleans. And there'll be, we have over 5,000 in our database right now. We are seeking 7,000 in our database to be able to deploy all throughout downtown, out the airports around the region, not just our New Orleans International Airport, but the smaller airports in the region, hotels, and special events that we have to be ambassadors for those visitors who are here. And it's not just telling them, where to find the convention center or where to find the French Quarter, but it's also getting them interested in the history of Super Bowl in New Orleans and maybe the history of New Orleans and Louisiana in general. Those when you talk about history, Louisiana is full of history. Right. New Orleans is full of history. So in 55 years of hosting Super Bowl, those two go hand in hand.
New Orleans is a city known for tourism, Mardi Gras, the food, the French Quarter, everything that's involved with there. But when a Super Bowl comes, and I go back to 2013, do you often see the biggest lift maybe being in tourism because of the media coverage? Oh, I didn't know that about that city. Oh, I didn't know about those restaurants or these tours. Does that seem to get the most immediate boost when a Super Bowl comes and goes?
I think it is. It's what we notice the most because we have put such an effort towards that. And it's not just the greater New Orleans area, it's the whole state of Louisiana. And so that's the reason why we have a statewide media committee that's put forth. And that messaging is so important, but we follow all those messages. We follow the impact of it. We follow, you can search now for the word Super Bowl in New Orleans together, and you come up with all the articles, and every time it was mentioned on television and the value associated with that, it's in the billions. And again, that type of media coverage and public relations, you can't put a price on. There's an economic impact associated with Super Bowl. It's extremely high, but the media value and the PR value is even higher.